All right, Zen, Theravada, how we doing?
Great.
Where does Theravada come from?
That is a branch of Buddhism. So it's a play on my name, my actual name being Zen. And the term Theravada literally translates to teaching of the elderly. So it wasn't my intention, but I've seen people interpret it as like, oh, it means basically means like old school or like you're an old soul, an old spirit. I'm like, I guess that could really, that could correlate. But it was really more just it being a play on my name.
Yeah, I get it, Zen. That's cool. I was looking into Theravada before this, but now I see the connection there. So I'll let you introduce yourself. Where are you from? How did you meet Devon Dreamcast?
Well, I met Dave Vaughn just from being around the DC music scene. I'm from New York by way of Long Island. My whole family's from Queens, New York. I spent a lot of time there growing up. I lived in Manhattan. I lived in Brooklyn. Uh, DC and Richmond, Virginia, are like homes away from home for me. So I'm very tapped in with the music scene of DC, music scene of Richmond, or at least whatever might have been going on like 5, 6 years ago. I was definitely out there more. So,
Yeah, that's cool. What brought you out to DC?
well, my cousin Rob Chambers had actually been going to school out there, so that's what originally, that's where I developed my bearings for the city. And then as time went on, I was somehow connected with Sir EU. I don't know if you're familiar.
I know, sir. You, yeah.
Yeah, and then through just being with Sir EU, I wound up meeting Dave Vaughn, but also Rob Chambers knows Dowie at Clune from 1432R. So that might be more directly how I know Dave Vaughn for real, is through Dowie.
hmm and you're based in LA now, is that right?
Currently, technically, I'm currently in Animos's studio. So
What brought you out there?
uh, basically, the fact that my phone was pretty dry in New York and it wasn't so dry whenever I came to LA. So I just kind of I followed my gut as well as my surroundings.
Yeah, that's cool. So went out there for music, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely for music. Be more around my peers. A lot of my friends from Richmond. I spent some time in Richmond, and all my friends had up and left to LA from Richmond after that. So I basically just followed them here. It
Yeah,
would have been
the
cool. I would have been living in Richmond right now if I was still there, just because it's cheaper and I can get to New York in 6 hours. So that was smooth. But for now, this was the pace I needed, and this is the context I needed. And I've been
yeah,
definitely I'm getting the chance to work with some heavy hitters while I'm out here. So been
yeah, that's exciting.
very exciting, very gratifying so far. And I got to open for Rock Marciano and the Alchemist, and Evidence was on that show too. So that's just one of the several things I've gotten a chance to do since being
Yeah, cool, man. That's awesome. When did you start making music?
end of 2012, beginning of 2013. I'd say really 2013 is when it was taken serious with an idea. I came up with the name for like calling myself Theravada. I was making my own T-shirts. I was making flyers for shows. So like 2013 is where I could definitely trace the origins of like all the trip, if you will.
And what made you want to start taking it more seriously?
Uh, Basketball wasn't as serious to me anymore. That was really the main thing. And I was going to school to be a teacher, but I knew that I could have a way more expansive life for myself if I stayed diligent and not confuse myself with chasing a dream with actually chasing a career. Because obviously everyone you'll always chase your dreams, but while you're chasing your dream, you also got to be realistic. Like, all right, how am I really going to feed myself? But I balanced it out, and I realized that I'd rather just take the jump and not spend my 20s in a classroom. And I'm glad I did that because that would have just been exclusively through Trump's presidency and COVID. So I for sure dodged the bullet for my first 3-4 years of being an educator would have been to sustain through that. And I don't think that would have really proven much on my end if I was able to. I would have lost my mind, you know, more so than I already did. So
Right. Yeah. Sounds like you made the right decision there.
so far so good.
Are you full time in music?
As of now, yeah.
So when did that start, and what do you think helped you make the jump to be full time in music?
COVID for sure, because I was helping a friend run a clothing store in Manhattan from 2016 up until 2020, basically COVID, and that prompted me with no option other than to take music all the way seriously because that was all I had. Regardless, you know, I could I could continue trying to get retail jobs or trying to be an assistant to the creative director of some brand or some clothing store or whatever, but all that stuff thinned out immensely. Manufacturing as a whole thinned out. So what's the only thing I could actually do with my own hands for real is just make this music, make this art, and just trust it. And trust all the sick ideas and attention to detail that I have and just go all the way with it and not just treat it as like it would be cool if. A lot of that would be cool if became more of what am I gonna do right now? What am I gonna do in the next week? And how am I gonna keep following that up?
So now I know you rap. Do you do anything else? And like, what are your different income streams for being a full time musician?
I'd say I make more money off of engineering and producing. So I'm grateful that I kind of was able to intern under my friends who are more experienced industry level engineers or whatever you want to call it. So I was able to learn from some experts and just pick that up and adapt it to my craft and my own personal business. Because I could sell verses and that's cool when things are cohesive, but I'd rather help people with their production and help people accomplish what their vision actually is. It's not always about trying to catch wind of who the next sensation is and getting in a deal with the, whatever. I think it's more about if you're going to spend that money anyway on the studio or you're going to spend that money on the engineer, spend it with someone who actually understands your intentions. And that's something I've been able to do for the past couple of years, is that people trust my vision, and I've basically gotten a little money to help them accomplish their vision.
Yeah, that's cool. So you've done a lot of collaboration, I guess, with other artists.
I guess you could call it that, commission work collaborations, because I also have helped people with their album rollouts. I've helped people with product shots. I've helped people with product design. Basically every facet of what a label might need to brand or aesthetic the artist, you know?
Yeah, that's cool. Have you done any packs like this before that you're doing for Float?
No, this is my first one. I've leased out beat packs to people, I've done the whole direct to consumer, direct to client, hit me with the DM, you get the exclusive folder, whatever, but nothing as elaborate as this.
So tell me more about this pack that you created.
Well, this pack is cool. It's a lot of some strange samples, some straightforward samples. I think it's a good place for a producer to maybe understand what makes sample selections distinct, but also what can make a sample selection the right type of sample selection. Maybe not the most unique or insane sample, but the right textures to bring you somewhere to where maybe you reformat it or, rework the melody, stuff like that. A lot of samples can be interpreted endlessly. So I think part of this pack is that you see a certain interpretation of the sample, but you see a lot of room for further interpretation.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm excited to hear it. What did you first think when Dreamcast came to you with this idea for this project?
I thought that it just sounded like a way cooler idea than how other websites just have an easy way for you to get an affordable beat and all the paperwork is kind of pre-programmed, whatever. This seemed a little more like the intention was more direct for the producer to sort of learn as well as polish their skills rather than someone just needs a beat and they took it. They don't want to use a YouTube beat now, so they just went to one of these other websites where they can just buy a beat for $25, which is fine. But that was never something I necessarily wanted to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's what the project is about for sure. You know, giving you creative freedom and seeing what comes out of that. Can you tell me a little bit about your creative process?
I just listen to music, research music the same way that when I'm watching a movie or when I'm just learning about anything, just look into it and just keep digging for more information and more history and more context and more of a backstory to whatever it is. It could be a piece of art, it could be a movie, it could be a shirt, it could be a TV show, it could be a vinyl. All of that can be the starting point of what is a song, albeit from the beat. It could be as simple as I heard a commercial and I Shazammed it and I'm going to sample that song. It could be that, or it could be I saw a shirt that reminded me of something that took me down a rabbit hole. Now I found a magazine. Now I found a poster ad. Now I learned about this one graphic artist that used to work with this graffiti artist that's actually associated with the guy from the skateboard. And now I'm doing all that just for the sake of digging into it. But all these things start and allow me to better understand art and history and hip hop as a whole.
Yeah, that's cool. It's all connected. As far as the music goes, who are you listening to a lot right now, and who are some of your bigger inspirations?
Sean Price, listen to a lot of Sean Price. Been listening to a lot of Ghostface lately. Had Fish Scale on repeat. Listen to a lot of Rock Marciano, Brownsville Cop. Trying to think what else have I been listening to. I don't know. I keep sort of like the same 4 or 5 albums on repeat. I listen to a lot of like Duck Down, early Duck Down albums, OGC, Helter Skelter, stuff like that. Most times I might not even listen to music some days. Some days I just watch Sean Price freestyle compilations, and then that's my dose of rap. Or like a Daylight, the battle rapper Daylight, like I'll watch his battle rap compilations.
Cool. All right, some good stuff to check out then.
That stuff can definitely replace just listening to music for me sometimes, because other times I'm really just a lot of my music listening is coming with my digging process. So that takes away from me visiting some albums, because it depends on what my commute and my routines are, because sometimes I might not be on the train with headphones, or I might not be driving so much to where I'm listening to stuff. I don't know. My routine changes so much lately that it's hard to like have a certain pattern of how I listen to music.
Yeah, I definitely get that. My routine changes all the time too, and as do my listening habits for sure.
You know,
What are some of the biggest challenges you have with your music career and just sort of sustaining through full-time music?
money for sure. But I guess if you want to be more specific, like in the beat making process, I wish I could spend endless money on records. So that changes the way that you navigate inspiration or sample choices or whatever, but then prompts you to just kind of figure out the internet a little better. Really just having good researching skills, I feel like, is one of the most important things with any business or any industry. It's just knowing the history and knowing how things work, knowing how to approach things, knowing how to recognize references, knowing what's been done before and maybe what hasn't been done before.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. It's important in music history, learning about other people. So, um, what do you do to look into all that kind of stuff now, and how do you wish that would be improved?
It's really not anything really secret. It's just having focus and patience and giving yourself a few hours a day to get something done. Whether it's digging for samples or whether it's reading up on something, whether it's working on a mix or polishing an old beat, starting a new beat, revisiting something you started writing. Because I'm rapping, I'm producing, I'm editing graphics and album art and designing shirts and editing videos and directing and drafting, location scouting. I'm doing the whole nine. So I got to make sure I'm engaged just as much as the downtime and processing information. You know, always reading something, always staying tapped in with something new, whatever it may be. Maybe not new like something that's new to this year, but something that's new to me. I always want to be learning something new.
What are some interesting, cool things you've learned recently that are new to you?
It's a tough one because you're catching me after drinking so much for the past 3 years. You know what? I haven't learned shit. You know, that's a tough question. I got to be honest. What have I learned recently? I'm trying to just think of the most recent thing. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm fried. Talking all this shit again. So much shit. Edit this part out. I know that.
Can you bring the mic a little closer?
Yeah, my fault.
Yeah, you're good.
Down a little bit too. Feedback and shit. Can you hear them in the back or?
Just there, I could hear him a little bit, but other than that, it's been fine.
Geez, bro, I don't know. I gotta remember what I've been picking up on. Let me look at the last thing I wrote down. Jeez, I don't know. Oh, you know what? What did we learn? I learned what the word supplication meant.
Supplicate. What does it mean? I don't know that word.
I had a whole thing last night about this word. This is the newest thing I've learned. The definition of supplication actually means the action of asking or begging for something earnestly or humbly. And the example on Google is he fell to his knees in supplication. But when you hear supplication, you just think of like a multiple amount of supply chains. Supplication, no, it actually means to beg, to humbly beg. But I've never heard someone be like, you see that guy on the train supplicating?
Yeah, that's a new word to me. Learn something new every day, right? That's cool. How are you feeling about what's that?
I said I wish it was cooler. Actually,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It's all right. How are you feeling about this year and everything you got going on?
I feel good. I feel good about it. I feel like a lot of the seeds that I planted years prior are finally beginning to bloom. Starting to see some flowers and you know, vegetables in the garden. So far so good. But I still feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like I'm still pulling from the same pools of inspiration that I was 10 years ago. It's just as exciting and affirming as it is still like, wow, I still feel like I'm at square one. I feel a lot of sense of growth for sure, but I still feel very inspired and driven.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's cool. What are you working on right now that you'd anything you want to promote or shout out?
Some things I can't even say yet, but I will say I've been working on an album with Animals that has been coming together quite lovely. And I've been working with, I'd say, at least anyone who's familiar with me, I've been working with a lot of people's favorite rappers on the production tip. So that's exciting. So other than that, I'm just working on my own stuff. I make a lot of beats, so that's always exciting.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, well, as we're sort of wrapping up here, is there anything else you want to shout out or people, projects, stuff you got in the future, anything else?
I just dropped an album with Stalker, and I've got an album with Zumo coming out next. So those are the two hot commodities right now from the Theravada chamber, but I think you'll see some surprises between now and when the Animals album comes out for sure.
All right, cool, man. Well, I'll stay tuned. And, thanks again for contributing to this project. We really appreciate it. I'm excited to hear all the samples and stuff.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Peace.